Hello, everybody. Welcome to this podcast episode where I'm going to chat about, dare I say it, AI. You might hear some background noise going on. It's a lovely sunny day here. There's lots of birds chirping outside. One of my dogs is in the office with me. It's highly likely at some point she's going to get bored and want outside. So if you hear those little interruptions in the background, that's what's going on. I've decided with my podcast, I love doing podcast episodes, and it's something I have neglected in recent months. There was so much going on with the summit I was organising, but I found myself spending a little bit too much time on Instagram, social media, and not as much time as I would like on the podcast. Anytime I have mentoring clients that work with me, they generally always say they really connected with me through the podcast. So it seems crazy to me that I'm not dedicating more time to this platform because it's what I enjoy doing. So in order to support me with being more consistent around doing these podcast episodes, I'm going with the minimally edited, what is what you get version where there's no fancy jingles or extensive editing. I'm doing what I need to do to get the podcast out to you. I hope any interruptions are minimal. So why am I chatting about AI? I have done a previous episode around AI, but I'm seeing more and more the conversation coming up in counselling Facebook communities. I'm seeing more opposing views on Instagram where people who do roles similar to myself, some who use AI and are supportive of it, and some who are very much against the use of AI in social media and content creation. I thought I was just going to share where I sit with it and what my views are on it. And this is not me telling you what you need to do, but just me sharing my own experience and my own views, and take with it as you wish. And I can completely understand why there are such opposing views around it. I know that there are concerns about where AI is going to go, how much it's going to evolve, and what the potential implications of it may be. I actually listened to a podcast episode. It was Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. He interviewed one of the guys who was fundamental in creating ChatGPT, one of the earlier versions of ChatGPT. And he no longer works for them because he basically left around the concerns around safety and the potential dangers of how much AI can evolve. I have to say, I am a huge fan of AI. I love it. I use it every day. But this podcast episode was quite scary. He talked about the potential risks in terms of joblessness, the fact that AI is immensely smarter than we are as humans. The capabilities of it go beyond the scope of what most of us can even imagine. So yes, that is quite scary about the potential impact of where this could lead to. Those concerns are absolutely valid. On the other side, the loving it camp, which is where I am most of the time, is that for me, it has been the biggest time saver imaginable. It helps me with doing things like editing. It helps me with when I record a podcast, I can have a transcript within seconds. From that transcript, it can help me write an email to my email list, letting them know about the podcast episode or creating a social media post around it. These are things that would have taken me a day to do. I can create these in a matter of minutes. As someone who is self-employed, running my own business, all of the hats we have to wear in being self-employed and running our own practices is that we already are full. Our plates are already full. We're already potentially overwhelmed. So for me, this is a time-saving tool that I use. But I think what my view on it, how do we lean into it? And how do we perhaps use it in a way that might be supportive of us? And the reality is, for most of us, for many of you listening, perhaps the extent of how much you're using AI is just the kind of playing about with it to help you check your spelling, to help you write an email or to word something or to help you maybe with some ideas around your content creation. So you might have seen things like Wysa or Wobot, AI chatbots that are used in mental health settings. They focus on CBT style interventions like journaling and mood tracking. And while the names aren't exactly catchy, like the uptake in this is real, especially in the NHS, where AI is already being trialed to support triage and assessments. I can completely understand why NHS or other big organizations within mental health are going to introduce these AI tools because they are streamlining processes, they are time saving. And the reality is that potentially these AI tools and resources can provide first line intervention for people. We have people on waiting lists for months for access to services. So if AI can integrate some services, especially focused around low intensity or early intervention pathways, then maybe that's a positive thing. People aren't waiting for so long. They can have some support at early intervention. It's not necessarily that this is a replacement for human therapy and for the human connection, but that it could be beneficial. Inside the Facebook counselling groups where I'm reading these posts that are coming up about AI, what I'm seeing is therapists saying that their own clients are using AI in between sessions. Their clients are finding it incredibly helpful and beneficial, and that the AI is being incredibly intuitive in response. We have to think about perhaps younger people accessing AI. We might be sitting here in our 40s and our 50s thinking, oh no, this isn't going to be a threat to us because we're maybe in quotes old school. We're not used to using this sort of tech. But younger people who have been raised with social media, raised with online tools, that they're so familiar and so adaptive to using tools like this, that for them it might be an absolute no-brainer to think about using AI for mental health support. I think for me, it's really important that we don't just assume our role as a therapist is never going to be impacted because we can't replace human connection. AI can't be truly empathic and it can't mimic human emotions. And all I would say after listening to that Stephen Bartlett podcast episode is don't be so sure. Don't be so sure that AI isn't able to feel physiological sensations in it and physiological feelings, but cognitive and emotionally, let's just see how much this actually does evolve. I just don't think that we can afford to turn our backs on this. Like, even with the valid concerns about ethics and safety, like the benefits are already showing up in terms of faster services, more efficient systems, and better access for clients. So, as a therapist in private practice, how do we think about how this is potentially going to impact me in private practice? Are people going to lean in more to using AI tools and platforms as a replacement for therapy? Or do I need to think more creatively, even about my own services? And is there a way that I could leverage AI to support me even more? One thing I was actually doing this morning before recording this podcast episode is having a think about like my own private practice and thinking about the services that I currently offer. Is there anything that I could be creating that is more meeting clients for where they're at right now and the capacity they have right now? I have a self-study online course on my private practice website, created a couple of years ago. If I think about that now, how much does that serve and support and benefit my ideal client? It's like a 8-course module. And each of the modules, there's video training, And each video is maybe anything from 30 minutes up to 1 hour long. And there's PDF guides and things that accompany it. Now, that would have been like very traditionally and how most of us would still think about creating a course or an online course. The reality, I think, now for people, however, is that people are really busy. They are really overwhelmed. So when they want help and they want support with something, that they want it to be easily accessible and that ideally they see some sort of a result as quickly as possible. We know that's not in line with therapy. Therapy can take time and be long-term work and deep work. But it made me think about maybe for the people who are coming to my website, maybe they're not ready to invest in therapy right now, but what actually might be a tool or a resource that might be beneficial to them. So I was able to upload all of the training, that self-study course that I've mentioned there that I created, and upload it into AI and ask for suggestions around how could I make this more modern based on where people are right now. And it was coming back with great ideas around how I could repurpose some of this content into short private podcast episodes, how I could turn it into a journaling tool, an interactive journaling tool that I could potentially use, create a custom GPT to turn it into an interactive journaling tool that clients could use. And again, that is just mind-blowing because when I think about when I created that course, it felt so laborious in terms of the PowerPoints, in terms of recording, in terms of the PDFs, everything to accompany it. That ended up taking me like months to create that course. And literally in a matter of seconds, I was able to upload the content to it and for AI to suggest some much more user-friendly ways that I could create something to support my ideal client. Like that is absolutely amazing. And even in the things that it's suggesting that I recreate, like the journal, that's something it can assist me with in minutes. Ordinarily, I could be faffing around on Canva for weeks trying to create. So for me, the possibility of how much it can help me, how much it can support me, blows my mind. This is what I encourage you to lean into and think about. What are the ways you could get on board, dip your toe in, or use it to help you to work smarter, not to replace you, but how can it support you to be the best therapist you can be if you were like really getting ahead of the curve? Thinking about, are there any tools that AI could support me in creating to really help with my clients or to support my clients better? Could I use AI to help me work more efficiently or work smarter to free up my time so I can be more effective in the work that I do with my clients? Or could it be helping me in my marketing to be more effective so that I'm doing a better job of actually attracting my ideal clients? Some of the ways that AI could be helping you is with creative brainstorms, giving you content ideas. It could be helping you with maybe session topics for an upcoming client that you're going to be working with. It could be that it helps you get clarity on who your ideal client is. Actually, recently I hosted an open house week inside my membership. As part of open house week, I asked the attendees to trial some custom GPTs that I had created. One was to help them get clarity on their ideal client and their niche, and one was to help them on writing their directory profile. And the feedback was amazing. Like the feedback was great. They said like the prompts were brilliant. It was so intuitive. It helped them pull out more information from themselves to get even more clarity on their ideal client. And they said they wouldn't have been able to do that if they were just sitting themselves trying to work out who their ideal client was. And this was a session we did virtually together using the custom prompt over like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And it gave them so much more clarity on who their ideal client and niche was, something that ordinarily they could have spent ages going in circles on. It could help you with maybe draft support, that you're using it to draft maybe emails. It could be drafting social media captions for you. It could be writing maybe workshop copy, creating PowerPoint slides for you. And then obviously you're going back in and editing it and tweaking it afterwards. It could be helping to summarize notes for you. It could be repurposing resources, a bit like what I just said about my course. How can it take information that you already have and repurpose it into something really helpful, like handouts for your clients? If you were more confident in using AI, you could be creating your own custom GPTs to help you all the tools that you need in your private practice, whether that be around marketing, writing emails, creating invoices. You can design custom tools that help you do all of this with ease. If you're currently using ChatGPT and you're on the free platform, the capacity to do those things isn't the same as on the paid. You can't create custom GPT tools. On the free plan, you will be limited in how much time you can use it each day. On the paid platform, it learns and it updates its memory. So the more that you're using it, the more it gets to understand you, your values, your tone, how you speak, the language you use. And it really then can do a much better job of creating content that actually does sound like you. And that's how I tend to use it. I'm on the paid platform. I spent a lot of time at the beginning when I was first using ChatGPT. I spent a lot of time giving it information so it really knew who I was, my business, what I'm about, who I support, how I speak. I uploaded loads of information to it, like episodes of these podcasts, so that it would learn how I talk and the kind of words and phrases that I use. So it really got to understand me and my messaging. When I go to use it now, it's not always perfect, but because it has so much information on me and my business, when I ask it to write something, it can do a pretty good job of it. And then I'll go through afterwards and I'll do some editing and just tweak the bits that maybe don't feel quite like me. I think that's where it's maybe got a bit of a bad reputation for how it's been used, in that people are maybe just churning out content using AI. They're not really spending the time to do the work beforehand to make sure that the platform really understands you, your ideal client, and your brand voice. If you're not doing that work beforehand, it can produce quite generic and quite naff content. So a bit of context there, that it is really important that you spend work doing that beforehand, so that the outcome of what it produces is of much better quality. But I always recommend that it is something that you go in and you're editing and that you're tweaking afterwards. I've went off on a bit of a ramble there, and as you can probably tell, that I am a fan of using AI. I am all for jumping on board and not getting left behind, understanding it, learning it, and trying to think about how can I leverage it to support me. And I totally get it. And I am very much, this is my view, this is what I think. We're all pretty overwhelmed, we're spinning a lot of plates. This can help make your life easier, so why not jump on board? But if you're someone that, for your own personal views and beliefs, that you do not want to use it, that is totally cool. So I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. As I said, this is just me free flowing, sharing my thoughts, sharing my views. So hopefully it's come across in a coherent manner for you, and it's spurred a little bit of thought around where you fall in the use of AI. A little final note is, I'm in the use it, get on board, help it make your life easier camp, but you have complete choice over what you want to do in your private practice. And that's the beauty of being in private practice. You don't have to do anything because somebody like me is suggesting it or recommending it. Mentors and marketing mentors on platforms like Instagram, we all have different viewpoints. We all have different ways of working. We all have different recommendations of how to market yourself and attract clients. It's really important that you find the advice and the support that feels most aligned with you. So if you feel like AI is not your jam and it's never going to be your jam, you do you. If you feel like actually it could support you and help you work more efficiently, or it could help with your creativity and bring that part of you out a little bit more, then you do you. My aim is just to share my thoughts, my feelings, my views on it, and I hope that you have found that interesting and it has given you a little bit of food for thought. For now, I shall sign off to say goodbye. If you don't already follow me, come and give me a follow on Instagram at Prosper in Private Practice. If you're interested in my services or monthly membership, which is a fab community for counsellors and therapists to support them in their private practice growth, you can find out more details on www.privatepractice.com/monthly membership. But bye for now.